John had lots of friends at school, and at university I remember going to visit him, and every single person said hello as they went past, and hi John, how are you? It was really lovely. I think he enjoyed university a lot. I don't know how hard he worked, but he had a good time.
At that time, John was a kind of very expansive character. He was just really interested in the world. He was interested in what was going on. He really wanted to experience everything. I remember he'd been to Israel, he'd been traveling. He was very into music at that time. Like I remember, down in his basement, he'd often have the kind of music playing, and he'd have friends that we'd met from going to sort of clubs or things round and listening to tracks. And so that was probably his kind of biggest passion, I would say, at that time.
This one, proper meditation. Big up Bleep Funk.
I think he will have met Graham when he lived in Hackney, and they formed a kind of shared bond over music. He was quite intense. He was like really interested in questioning what was going on, why things were going on.
His interest in Buddhism definitely made him the calm person that I think a lot of people know him as, but he wasn't always like that. I think that, especially younger, being younger especially, I've known him since our early teens, mid-teens, so everybody goes through maybe a bit of a rebellious streak. You want to tell me something? Yeah. Go on. Tell me a story. Please. Do me a story. Sorry? Story. Tell me one. What? Tell me one. No way. So I remember him, even then at a young age having quite sort of strong convictions and strong opinions. So I remember him, maybe if he'd see some like ostentatious display of wealth or something on the street, he'd get angry.
I think there's an awful lot to be gained from thinking about death and dying, both learning from other cultures, but also looking at the ways that death plays out in our society, and our attitude towards it plays out in our society. There's a significant body of research which shows that our behaviour to sort of put people in hierarchies, both in terms of class and in terms of race, is linked to our attitude towards death and dying. Similarly, our wish to consume, to obtain money and power, and our drive to do those things, it's again linked to our attitude towards death and dying. So I think, and it's my hope, that by focusing on death, we can unpick some of the unhelpful systems that we've got around those kind of things.
John, for a long time, talked about wanting to do some work around death and dying. I think because of his Buddhist beliefs, and I believe that Buddhists contemplate death every day. So he thought for a long time about what he wanted to do, and the Death Cafe itself came about because Alistair, my husband, found a cutting in the Independent, cut it out, posted it to John about Bernard Crittaz and the Café Motel that Bernard Crittaz was doing. And John was extremely interested in that idea and decided to call it Death Cafe, and thought about what he wanted to do and realised having people meet together to talk about death and dying was what he wanted to do, and that's what he did. It was downstairs in John's dining room. People were sat round a table. There was a coal fire burning. I think it was in September in 2011. And people really enjoyed it. But then we decided that it was better not to have such a rigid structure, and in fact nowadays there's no structure at all. And the agenda should come from the group rather than from the facilitator. John was my eldest, and then I had Matt, who is 18 months younger than John, and then 13 years later had Jules. Since John died, he apparently asked Jules if he couldn't, would she run the Death Cafe, and that's what she's done since his death. It was very hard for Donna and the children and Jules and myself and other members of the family to come to terms with. It was so shocking and so quick and so unexpected. John's children, Frank and Gina, have been remarkably resilient and are well-rounded, wonderful children.
Although he had a really short life, I think he did live his life with the full intensity and purpose. So yeah, I was very grateful to have met him. I started coming to Jamyang, I think the first time 1998, and enrolled for what was then the Foundation of Buddhist Thought programme, which began in the summer or the autumn of 1999, just after His Holiness's visit to Jamyang. And John enrolled on the same course, so that was a 2-year study programme, quite intensive, with Geshe Tashi Tsering, who was the sort of in-residence teacher and monk who lived in Jamyang and was the teacher for many, many years, over 20 years. And so during that time I got to know John quite well. And then I'm not sure if it was during that time there was the vacancy for office manager came up, and John applied and became the office manager of Jamyang. And John was a wonderful person, very quiet, a doer. He just got on with things, and he was invaluable and very close to Geshe Tashi, who developed very strong friendship as well as being student-teacher relationship over those years, because he was just always reliable, always there, very intelligent, very bright, and very kindly, a very, very nice person. The funeral was able to be arranged at Jamyang. Very beautiful ceremony. He was integral to Jamyang for so many years, so many activities that happened. Rinpoches, we were very lucky during that period. Very high lamas came in succession. We didn't realise quite how lucky, invited by Geshe Tashi, who knew them, and including His Holiness who came. John was very much instrumental in a very quiet, he was very methodical, very organised way of helping facilitate those visits, and also the relic tour. I think we had 2 relic tours, so he was there during all of that. In a way in the background, but very much in the foreground.
I think from the very beginning he was interested in bigger questions that he wanted to find answers to, and I think he did that in his time.
It's become hugely popular. I mean, are you surprised by the fact that the idea has taken off around the world?
Yes, I mean, it is surprising, but it's really wonderful, and I think it signifies that things are changing very, very quickly.
That last time that I saw him, I mean, I'd just say to him, I'd say, so how are things going with death? Well, when I asked him, he'd always answer, with a bit of a smile on his face.